green camouflage scheme, very similar, although obviously our visitor is in brown and green, but grey and green was found to be better for the night sorties across to France. The Mark 16, the last Merlin Spitfire. Give a wave. Just to explain the reason for the
It's difficult to know where to start. Aircraft, it did an awful lot.
By comparison, the Oster was relatively mundane, only doing sort of military type things with the Trans-Antarctic expedition.
And as we prepare in a few weeks' time to look back 75 years to the invasion of Normandy and the events that followed, the Oster, of course, was a vital contributor to the Allied advance in the air observation post role, performing over-the-horizon artillery spotting. This one a post-war Mark 6 variant of the type that was used in the Korean War.
But fulfilling very much the same role. And there is a comparison to be made with the Lysander. The Lysander was built. One of the uses the Russians found for the PO2 was to use it as a night bomber. The idea was not so much to inflict damage on the enemy, but to keep them awake all night and make sure they didn't perform quite so well the following day. And a squadron of lady pilots was formed. They were known as the Night Witches. So there we are, a sight you will not have seen for the last 20 years.
Our debutante from the aircraft restoration company in the hands of Lee Proudfoot. Now, John, you mentioned the visual difference between these aeroplanes.
It's actually not a very visual difference, but the difference between British and Canadian built aircraft was the wishbone that formed the focus of the undercarriage. The term extruded is important. The British built aircraft had an extruded undercarriage wishbone which was made in Switzerland, laminates, and so some of the Canadian aircraft suffer rather badly with corrosion where the laminates rust. And that was part of Teddy Petter's unique approach to designing aircraft. He was a bit ahead of his time. You have to remember the Lysander was his first ever attempt at designing an aircraft.
Quite a few more obvious differences between these two Lysanders. The ARSD Special Duties work in World War II. Well, that was a true treat. And incidentally, Lee Proudfoot, who was flying the ARC Lysander there, he, along with John Romain, the boss of the aircraft restoration company, holds a unique distinction. He has flown all three, climbing to height, and in front of us, the Compa CLA-7 Swift.
Lab in the boys' wing. I've built three designs. The CLA-3 won the speed trials in 1925 at 87 miles an hour, and they inspired the Compa which you see before you. It was designed around the revolutionary Pobjoy 7-cylinder geared radial. And that was
a certain Frank Whittle. Quite a contrast between the man who became the father of the jet engine and the man who became the father of this
33 in Delhi, and it finished 6th in the second fastest time at 124 miles an hour. It crashed while returning to the UK. It was rebuilt by George Errington and registered in May 1934. He flew it all over the UK until selling to Frank Luxmore in 1937, and it passed a Ron Clear in 1948, who groomed it again for racing.
Very impressive performance in its day. Charles Butler flew one from England to Australia in record time, taking 9 days, 2 hours 29 minutes to reach Darwin from his starting point at Lymm. A performance, it must be said, not to be demonstrated by the Eon Primary, which has just been released above us.
We'll just let you watch this. Now, wasn't that just wonderful? Richard Crockett out there. After his first flight in the Bristol M1C, Dodge Bailey climbed out and described it as Mr. Toad's wild ride. It is a fantastic machine, and you have to bear in mind that this was flying in 1916. It was 30% quicker than anything else in the air at the time. Designed by the meticulous Frank Barnwell. Although it was designed in 1916, it wasn't until 1918 that the contract was issued for the construction of 125. The colour scheme comes from the Middle East, where 72 Squadron were flying against the Turks. And there are stories that two of the 72 Squadron aircraft put on such a good flying display, it actually convinced an Arab or very similar vintage. The success of the Sopwith Pup had convinced Sopwith that the design had merit, but the problem was the size of the German Air Force was so impressed by the rate of climb of the Sopwith triplane that they fed back to the designers that they would like something similar. And the design is the one you all know. It's the Red Baron's Fokker DR1 triplane. Principal exponents of the triplane were Naval 10, Black. In the days when decisions were made a little bit more quickly in terms of aircraft procurement, the Sopwith triplane went to France. The Sopwith triplane prototype went to France, and it was in action within 15 minutes of arriving in France. Another testament to the success of the Sopwith, actually looped triplane 3 times within 15 minutes of taking to the air for the very first time. So the quality of the airframe was very much proven right from the start.
Condition, however, is rather sorry, not given a very sympathetic restoration. The reason it's there is because it was shipped to Russia for evaluation in 1917.
The key feature of the Camel's design was a helmet between them and the wicker seat that was provided by Sopwiths to protect themselves. If you have a close look at the camel wing you get down, you'll notice there's a little name on the side, Iconopit, which is actually short for I can hop it, and generally referred to what...
Gain some height prior to their displays. We have first the Blackburn B2 and then the very familiar shape of the de Havilland DH82A Tiger Moth, and going onto the runway behind them.
The big difference between the Pitts and most contemporary biplanes. I think it's going to show you just how manoeuvrable this aircraft is. The Pitt Special. So, roll off the top. And a very neat loop. Stall turn. Aerobatic display of moving from one manoeuvre to another in a seamless sort of fashion, and also keeping your height.
Actually, an upgraded high-performance unit fitted only this year by Superpower Engineering from Oxford, experts in highly tuned engines for aerobatic aeroplanes.
A nice hesitation roll there. Very nice slow roll.
Verted down the line. Rolling erect once more.
Lysanders, mate. Cheers. Thank you. Well, first pass, a bit flat. Oh, we'll be
Go on, give them a wave. And lining up now to depart, ready for their slot. Our Sea Hurricane and the Spitfire Mark 1. Whilst high above, about to commence its aerobatic display, is the... is now rolling. Ready for their slot a bit later. Sorry, Spitfire, Spit 9.
There is, of course, a long-running debate as to whether side-by-side or tandem seating is best for an ab initio trainer, and the B2 was somewhat unusual for its period in the 1930s in going for the side-by-side. And the aeroplane...
One of its distinctive features was the lack of stagger on the wings, which
It can be raised in the context of the Blackburn B2 because, of course, contractorisation and civilianisation are very much buzzwords in today's military, and the RAF is currently introducing to service the Grob World War II, and given the low production run, fairly significant numbers of B2s were stationed there. Running past us now, meanwhile, the biplane is the Avro Tutor, the monoplane, the Mild Magister.
and well above us is the Tiger Moth. Tiger Moth in the very distinctive lots of inverted flying during their formation displays.
Yes, the Central Flying School mounted numerous exceptional for their day aerobatic teams during the 1930s. Their most prominent appearances, of course, being at the Royal Air Force pageants, and later as they became known, Royal Air Force displays at Hendon.
Came another problem for the RAF, the lack of a monoplane trainer to get pilots used to the idea of not having an upper wing above them. In search of a solution, they went for the foremost designer of racing aircraft in the UK, FT Miles, power operated brakes, and a few other modifications that made it very similar in both its handling and layout to the fighters that the pilots will be progressing onto.
One point you may have noticed if you looked at the Magister close up on the ground earlier is that the rear windscreen is larger than the one at the front in order to accommodate the blind flying hood, which would be pulled forward over the at the other. I've heard very mixed opinions from pilots. Some very much enjoy it, some appreciate it rather less.
It does get a rather mixed response. The one thing they all agree on is it's rather uncomfortable on long journeys. But it's still got an elegance of its own. It seems to be a very English style of design, especially given when it was actually brought to the market.
And very, very rare, as a surviving airworthy Blackburn aeroplane. We hope to see another one later. Peter Kozagorin, the AE Systems test pilot, flying the B2. But now, we're looking out for another of the great high points of this evening's display. It's not often at 20 minutes or so in the company of four outstanding warbirds. A mix of marks of Rolls-Royce Merlin engine as well, and a mix of fascinating histories that we'll come to at the end of their display slot.
watch. That lovely smooth sound of the Just a quick show of hands. Who's seen Reach for the Sky? Who's seen the film Reach for the Sky? Right, plenty of you. You all remember there was a narrator, Jeffrey Stevenson? Well, this is his aircraft, his Spitfire. Did you note the change?
designated combat veterans. As John mentioned, the Mark 1A serial N3200, a reconstruction of a number 19 squadron aircraft from very early in World War II. It flew just one operational mission in the hands of Squadron Leader Geoffrey Stevenson of the Duxton Base number 19 Squadron. After shooting down a Luftwaffe Junkers Ju-87 Stuka dive bomber, Stevenson himself was down, and it led to the forced landing on the beach at Sangatte. MH434, meanwhile, the Mark 9 from the old Flying Machine Company, quite apart from its post-service legendary status in the hands of Ray Hanna and many others. A combat veteran with number 222 Natal Squadron, notably in the hands of Flight Lieutenant Henry Lardner Burke, DFC, a South African. In his hands, MH434 scored numerous combat kills, and the Mark 5C AR501 of the Shuttleworth collection that's just landed in the hands of Dodge Bailey. That aircraft has a very notable combat career as well, and having seen the Spitfire of BBMF at the start of the show, Polish squadron colours, there we see a Spitfire in Czechoslovak squadron colours, specifically those of number 312 Squadron, one of the two Czechoslovak units with which AR501 served during wartime. Before that it was with number 310 Squadron, flew on fighter sweeps and bomber escort sorties, took part in operations over Dieppe in August 1942, and in May had even escorted that most famed of Boeing B-17 flying fortresses, Memphis Belle. Later, with number 312 Squadron, there was more action for AR501, where notably it escorted Westland Whirlwind with an anti-shipping strike off Guernsey, on one occasion scraping a German flagship from a range of 500 yards down to just 100 yards. Its final combat mission was on the 29th of January 1944, escorting 36 B-26 Marauders to attack a target near Dieppe.
Now, what did the Wren prove? Well, the Wren actually proved how far you could fly on 1 gallon of petrol. That's about 4 and a bit litres. And the answer is 87 and a half miles.
And certainly
just to put this display in perspective, when Peter Hill Wood really well. Very light winds, which help as well.
we didn't see the Lynn Trials aircraft out during the displays last year. Occasionally aircraft rested here for a season, and the opportunity has been taken to undertake some engine work on the ABC power plant of the Wren, and this is the result.
Yes, years ago we tried to bungee launch the aircraft, and the pilot turned to the chief engineer, having heard that he needed to adjust the mixture properly, and asked what indicator there was that the mixture was correct. and the answer came back, you will not get any more black smoke out of the engine. I've had a complaint, ladies and gentlemen, from one of the engineers. They've waited so long. One of the black arts of a towed glider, or towing a glider rather, is balancing the speeds. Gremlins have now got at us. One of the signets and the ANAC have gone tech, so we'll just have the one signet.
Cygnets took part in 1926 ahead of the de Havilland DH-60 Moth, which of course proved to be a far more successful proposition.
Oh, now of course his name was Paul, but he was known as George Paul.
The power plant is a 37 horsepower Mosler engine. The originals used Anzani, ABC Scorpion or Bristol Cherub power plants. The Aeronca C3.
Absolutely, craftsmanship is their watchword. I brought some friends over from Belgium and they were astonished at just the propeller, let alone the rest of the aircraft. It is absolute. I just knew little or nothing about aviation, but had a gift for not only creating beautiful machines, but also for...
Here comes the Comet.
In 1933, de Havilland offered to build an aircraft that would be capable of winning the much vaunted race between London and Australia to Melbourne, and they offered to produce it within the timescale, in other words 9 months. They were taken up by 3 parties, including Mr. Edwards, who...
The crews of the 3 Comets got their hands on their new, extremely rapid and to some extent extremely challenging machines just days before the race started from the then newly constructed RAF Mildenhall.
When people ask why Mildenhall, because the landings required a bit of practice, and some of them are really quite entertaining if you work in the aircraft.
Taking on yet another new aircraft project at the time, and the result speaks for itself.
One interesting aspect as well that's also sometimes forgotten is that the Comets had a life beyond the race, and in fact 2 of them were used by the French Air Force to map the Sahara. So you can see the brakes running out to catch it. And as Ben said, there's been a significant amount. And an advantage of the still wind is that it might be able to fly back once it came. Yes, the pilot is nonchalantly waving away the assistance of the ground crew. And opening the engine out. Following the Blériot, we have the box kite.
It was in July 1910 that the first box kite took its maiden flight, and the historian C.H. Barnes
goes the Blackburn Mercury. the trends with the very early aircraft was to use the rudder first in the turn, because the ailerons weren't particularly effective until the turn had started. And you'll see on the box side occasionally that returns to Earth.
Well, we're all looking variously through binoculars and camera lenses down to the right-hand end to see if we are indeed to get the last of our Edwardian quartet, the Depot du Sein, into the air.
An aircraft, including a winner of the Schneider Trophy. When it set a world absolute speed record of 126.67 miles per hour.